Welcome to the Podcast of Phillop, everyone. It's Black History Month here in Canada. And for this deep dive, we're going to take a look at Black Canadians in the AI world. How are they contributing to this field? What kind of support are they getting from the government or from private programs?
I think it's a really timely topic.
Yeah.
And an important conversation to be having.
Absolutely.
Especially during Black History Month.
For sure.
One of the first questions that comes to mind is, are there specific Black Canadian-led AI initiatives out there?
Wow.
So I did some digging, and from the research I've done, I haven't come across any that are explicitly named as such. However, there's definitely a strong push to boost Black Canadian presence in the tech sector as a whole.
Oh, okay. So it's more of a kind of a building blocks approach where you're trying to build up the foundation in tech generally, and that will naturally extend to AI.
Exactly.
Yeah.
It's about creating those pathways
Right.
and providing opportunities across the board.
So are there any encouraging signs? Are there things happening that give you hope that this is actually going to lead to greater representation in AI down the line?
There definitely are. One example I found really interesting is the Deloitte report called "The Future is Equitable." They really emphasize the importance of including Black communities in this emerging field of generative AI.
Okay. Now, for those of us who aren't super techie, what exactly is generative AI? I've heard the term, but can you break it down for us?
Yeah. It's basically the type of AI that can create new content, like text, images, even music. Think of it as AI that can be creative.
Oh, wow. So it's not just analyzing data or, making predictions. It's actually producing something new.
Exactly. And that's why it's such a big deal. It had a huge potential to transform all sorts of industries. And the Deloitte report is saying, hey, Black communities need to be a part of this.
Right. They need to have the skills.
Yeah, they need the skills, the resources, the opportunities to be players in this field.
So that they can benefit from the growth.
Exactly. It's about economic empowerment, social advancement, all of that.
Makes sense.
And, another really important point the report highlights is that over 60% of the people they surveyed believe that having diverse teams developing AI is key to reducing bias in those systems.
Oh, that's huge. So it's not just about representation for the sake of representation.
Yeah.
It's about actually making the technology better for everyone.
Exactly. Because different perspectives lead to better solutions.
Right. When you have people from different backgrounds, different experiences working on these AI systems, you're more likely to catch those potential biases and make sure the AI is fair and equitable for everyone.
Right. It's about making AI that works for all Canadians.
Okay. So we've talked about this kind of broader push for inclusion in tech, but are there any concrete examples of programs that are specifically helping Black Canadians get into AI?
Yeah, there are. One that really stood out to me is the World Innovation League's Diverse Tech Talent Program. They've actually trained 500 young Black Canadians and immigrants in key tech fields, and that includes AI.
Wow, 500. That's impressive.
Yeah, it's a really significant program, and it's not just about training. They also help these participants get internships in places like AI companies and research labs.
Oh, wow. So it's like a direct pipeline into the AI industry.
Exactly. And it's working. I read that 340 participants from that program have already landed internships in key sectors like AI.
That's amazing. So this isn't just talk. It's actually translating into real opportunities for Black Canadians in AI.
It is, and it shows that when you provide the right support and create those pathways, amazing things can happen.
So we've got these private initiatives like the Diverse Tech Talent Program, and then there's also the role of the government, right?
Right, absolutely.
I know there have been some pretty big investments made in supporting Black communities here in Canada.
Yeah, there have.
What kind of impact do you think those investments are having on the tech and AI landscape?
Well, we've got initiatives like the Supporting Black Canadian Communities Initiative with its millions in funding. And then there's also over $700,000 going to the McKell-Jean Foundation for its work.
Now, these aren't AI specific, right?
No, they're not.
But I imagine they could still play a role in supporting Black-led tech projects.
Oh, they absolutely can. Think of it this way. If you want a plant to grow, you need to make sure the soil is fertile, that it's getting enough sunlight.
Right.
These investments are kind of like that. They're creating a supportive environment where innovation and entrepreneurship can flourish.
So even though we might not be seeing dedicated Black-led AI initiatives popping up everywhere right now,
right,
these broader investments are kind of laying the groundwork for them to emerge in the future.
Exactly. It's about building that foundation.
Okay. So it sounds like even though we might not have those headline-grabbing AI initiatives just yet,
right,
There's definitely movement happening. There's momentum building.
For sure. There's a lot of positive energy out there.
And it seems like both the private sector and the government are playing a role in pushing things forward.
They are. And that's what makes me optimistic. When you have those forces working together, that's when real change can happen.
Well, that's a really encouraging note to end this first part of our deep dive on.
Sure.
And we've learned that while specific Black Canadian-led AI initiatives might not be front and center right now, there's definitely a movement towards greater inclusion and representation. And there are programs providing skills and opportunities.
Yes.
And government initiatives are fostering a supportive environment for innovation. So what else is happening? What other encouraging signs are there? Stick with us for part 2, where we'll
dive deeper into the crucial connection between diversity and AI and the problem of bias in these systems. It's not just about who's building the AI. It's also about making sure the technology itself is fair and doesn't discriminate against anyone.
Yeah, that's a really important point. And I think, we've all heard these stories about AI bias. But for people who aren't, deep in the tech world, can you explain, in simple terms, how this bias can actually show up in AI systems? How does it work in practice?
Sure. So a lot of times the bias in AI actually comes from the data that's used to train those systems.
Okay.
So if that data already has some built-in societal biases, well, guess what? The AI is going to learn and then kind of repeat those biases in its decisions.
Oh, I see. So it's like garbage in, garbage out.
Kind of. Imagine you have a hiring algorithm, right? And it's trained on data where historically men have been hired for leadership roles way more often than women.
Right.
So that AI might unfairly give a lower score to female candidates, even if they have the same qualifications.
Wow. Yeah. So the AI is basically just reflecting the biases that already exist in the data.
Exactly. It doesn't know any better, right? It's just learning from what it's been fed.
So that's why having diverse teams developing these AI systems is so crucial, because they can spot those potential biases and make sure the data is more balanced. Right?
Yeah. If you have a team with people from different backgrounds, different genders, different ethnicities,
right,
they're more likely to pick up on those subtle biases that might slip past a team that's not as diverse.
And make sure the AI is actually fair to everyone.
Exactly. It's about building AI that benefits all Canadians.
Okay, so we've got these private initiatives, the government funding, and then there's also the role of researchers, right?
Yes.
People who are really digging into these issues of AI and bias.
Absolutely. And there are some fantastic researchers right here in Canada who are doing really important work in this area.
Can you give some examples?
Yeah, for sure. So there's Karine Gental and Canel. They're doing some fascinating research on how AI can actually perpetuate racism.
Wow.
And they're really strong advocates for greater diversity in the field of AI.
Because that's one of the keys to preventing those negative impacts.
Right. Exactly. And they're also doing really important work in raising awareness about these issues. It's not just about finding technical solutions. It's also about having these conversations.
Right.
Making sure people understand that AI can be a powerful tool.
Yeah.
But it can also have these unintended consequences if we're not careful.
So it's about being aware of the potential pitfalls.
Yeah.
And making sure we're developing AI responsibly.
Right. And that's something we all have a role to play in.
Okay. So what can the average person do? I'm not an AI developer. I'm not a researcher.
You can still make a difference. Just by being aware of these issues, you're already a step ahead.
Right.
You can support organizations that are promoting diversity in tech. You can talk to your friends and family about these things.
Spread the word.
Exactly. And you can also advocate for responsible AI development in your own workplace, in your community.
So it's about recognizing that this isn't just a tech issue.
It's a societal issue.
It's something we all need to be thinking about and talking about.
Yeah. And the more people who are engaged in this conversation, the better the outcomes will be for everyone.
Well said. So we've explored the potential problems of AI bias and the critical role that diversity plays in addressing those risks. But what about the global perspective? How are other countries approaching this challenge? Stay tuned for part 3, where we'll broaden our horizons and see how other countries are tackling diversity and inclusion in AI. Are there any lessons we can learn from what they're doing?
Definitely. One thing that's really caught my eye is that a lot of countries are setting up these AI ethics councils or task forces. It's like they're bringing together all these experts from different fields to figure out some guidelines, best practices for developing AI responsibly, really focusing on minimizing bias and making sure it's fair for everyone.
So it's about creating a framework for ethical AI at a national level.
Exactly. It's like setting the ground rules.
Are there any countries that are doing a particularly good job of this? Like any standout examples?
Yeah, I think the UK has been really proactive in this area.
Hmm.
They've got this Center for Data Ethics and Innovation,
Okay.
and it's specifically designed to guide ethical AI development and how it gets used.
Interesting. What kind of things are they doing?
Well, they've come up with these guidelines on explainability of AI decisions.
Explainability. Now, that's a word I haven't heard before. Can you explain what that means?
Sure. It basically means that we should be able to understand how an AI system arrived at a particular decision.
Oh, okay. So it's like being able to trace the AI's thought process.
Yeah, exactly. So you can see if it's being fair, unbiased, and if it's working the way it's supposed to.
Right. Because if you can't understand why the AI made a certain decision,
Right.
it's hard to trust it.
Exactly. Especially when you're using AI in important areas like healthcare or law enforcement.
You really need that transparency.
Absolutely. And it's not just about government initiatives.
Oh, okay.
The tech industry itself is starting to take diversity and inclusion a lot more seriously.
Oh, that's good to hear. How so?
Well, a lot of companies are setting targets for representation within their workforce. They're investing in training programs, and they're trying to create more inclusive workplaces.
There's a growing awareness that this is something that needs to be addressed.
Definitely. And it's happening on a global scale.
That's encouraging. So what can listeners here in Canada do to kind of contribute to this movement, even if they're not like AI experts or tech CEOs?
I think the most important thing is just to stay informed about these issues. Educate yourself about the potential impacts of AI,
Right.
both good and bad.
Support those organizations that are working to increase diversity in the tech sector.
Yes. And you can also advocate for responsible AI development in your own sphere of influence, whether that's at work or in your community.
So it's about recognizing that this isn't just a technical problem
Exactly. It's a societal issue.
that requires a collective effort to solve.
And the choices we make today about AI will shape our future.
Hmm.
So it's crucial that those choices reflect the diversity of our society and our values.
Well said. Well, that brings us to the end of our deep dive into the world of Black Canadians in AI. We've looked at where things stand right now, why diversity matters so much, and the global push for a more equitable AI future.
And remember, even though those Black Canadian-led AI initiatives might not be making headlines right now, the foundation is being built. So by supporting those efforts, by raising awareness, and by promoting responsible development, we can create a brighter AI future for all Canadians.
And that's a great note to end on. Thanks for joining us on Le Podcast of Phillip. Don't forget to like this video and subscribe to our channel on YouTube for more deep dives into the topics that matter.